Welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at Taoist body maps.
Okay.
Specifically, this one called the Chart for the Cultivation of Perfection.
Sounds good.
And we've got like excerpts from this whole book on it. So
Oh, wow.
we're really going to get into how Taoists viewed the body and all the crazy symbolism on this chart.
Yeah, it's an amazing chart.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in. Why is the human body so important to Taoists?
Well, the Taoist texts see the body as like a microcosm of the universe. It's not just a physical shell, it's a reflection of the whole cosmos.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with why the body is often depicted in this like ovoid shape?
Yeah.
Like almost like an egg shape on these charts?
Yeah, you're picking up on something there. That shape links back to like ancient Chinese creation myths where the world starts as chaos. This like undivided whole, and it's often described as egg-shaped. So the body in these charts represents that original state of unity.
So we're starting with this idea that the body is like mirroring the universe.
Yeah.
Where did these body maps even come from? I mean, did they just appear one day?
Well, not quite. We can trace them back to the 10th century.
Okay.
With diagrams by a Taoist named Yang Luzi.
Yang Luzi.
Yeah, and he's kind of an interesting figure. He supposedly achieved transcendence by eating ginseng root.
Oh, wow.
Which is a whole other story, but...
Let's save that for another time.
Yeah, his diagrams are like the oldest surviving representations that we have of the body in a Taoist context.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Did these maps kind of stay the same way throughout history, or...?
Well, they actually evolved quite a bit.
Okay.
They became more and more intricate over the centuries. They started adding symbolic language and even poetry to the diagrams.
Wow.
For example, like the Chart of the Inner Landscape from 1269 has all these beautiful poems that describe the body's energy flow.
Oh, wow.
And it has lines like solar flower rising to the eastern shore.
So it's not just anatomy.
Right.
It's almost like art.
Exactly. And this shift towards using more symbolic language also reflects a change in Taoist alchemy.
Okay.
They moved away from external manipulations like making potions and elixirs and moved more towards internal alchemy, which focuses on mental manipulations using visualization and imagination.
So less about like changing the physical body and more about working with like energy and visualization and stuff.
Yes. And the Chart for the Cultivation of Perfection is like a culmination of this long tradition of body maps. Okay. It's really a tool for meditation and ritual practice.
And it's kind of had its own journey too, right? Like different versions popping up across China.
Right.
And even recent discovery in a private collection in France.
Yeah, it's true. The earliest versions we have date back to the 10th century, and there are many variations, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Finding these different versions scattered across China shows just how important and widely circulated this chart was.
Right.
And that recent discovery in France definitely adds like a layer of mystery.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else is out there.
Right.
But this chart is definitely not just like a simple diagram.
No.
Where do we even begin to unpack all the symbolism?
Well, it's like a combination of text and inscriptions and figurative elements.
Okay.
It's a whole visual language.
Gotcha.
Let's start with the head.
Okay.
The head is depicted as the location of the 9 celestial palaces.
9 celestial palaces. What does that represent?
It's all about connecting the microcosm of the body to the macrocosm of the universe.
Okay.
So think of it this way. The head is like a miniature version of the heavens.
So the head is literally cosmic.
Right?
That makes the 3 dots on the forehead even more intriguing.
Yeah.
What are those all about?
Well, those symbolize the 3 terraces constellation. Taoist thought often blends anatomy with astrological concepts, and you can see that pretty clearly here.
Okay, that's pretty intricate.
Yeah.
It seems like the spine also has a pretty prominent role in this chart.
It does.
What's the focus there?
You're right to notice that the spine is highlighted with 3 specific points.
Okay.
The jade pillow surrounding the spine and the caudal passes.
Okay.
These are key points for energy flow in Taoist practices.
So the spine is like a central energy channel.
Yeah.
But why those 3 specific points?
Well, each point corresponds to a region of the spine that governs energy flow in different ways.
Okay.
And there's a mythical connection with the caudal pass, which is at the base of the spine. It's linked to the myth of Wailu, which is this hole in the sea that drains water but never empties.
That's a very interesting metaphor.
Yeah.
How does that tie into the spine?
Well, it symbolizes the coccyx region,
Okay.
which is where energy flow begins in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So just like Wailu, this point is seen as this wellspring of energy constantly flowing but never depleted.
So we have the head connecting to the cosmos.
Yeah.
the spine acting as this energy channel.
Yeah.
Are there other areas of the body that are emphasized on this chart?
Definitely the kidneys are crucial. There's an inscription by the kidneys that mentions the obscure female.
Obscure female.
Yeah, and the bellows-like action between the kidneys.
Okay, that sounds pretty mysterious.
It is.
What does that mean, like, in this context?
Well, it's a concept that relates to generating primordial energy.
Okay.
And the bellows imagery points to this dynamic transformation that's happening within the kidneys. They're not just filtering organs.
Right.
They're like these energetic powerhouses.
So they're kind of like an internal alchemy lab.
That's a great way to think about it.
And speaking of energy centers, we can't forget the abdomen.
Right.
You'll notice a spiral there, which depicts the lower cinnabar field.
Yes, the cinnabar field.
It's a very important energy center,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
But why is it depicted as a spiral?
Well, the spiral represents the movement of primordial breath, which is a vital force in Taoist practices. There's also an inscription around the cinnabar field that's particularly fascinating.
What does that say?
It outlines the different stages of transformation that a practitioner experiences.
Oh, wow.
For example, one stage is called the Palace of Fusang,
Okay.
which signifies inner brightness.
So this chart's not just an anatomical map.
No.
It's a guide to spiritual development leading towards enlightenment.
Exactly. It combines anatomical knowledge with spiritual guidance and even a cosmic calendar, all in one intricate image.
This is already so much to process.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's even more to unpack.
Oh, absolutely. We haven't even touched on the symbolism of the animals depicted around the body.
Right.
Each one represents a deity associated with a specific organ.
Okay, I thought there were like 5 major organs.
Right.
But I'm seeing 6 animals on this chart.
That's where it gets really interesting. The chart includes the gallbladder, which isn't usually included in traditional medical texts.
Okay.
This points to the influence of the yellow quartz tradition of Taoism,
Okay.
which had a unique interpretation of the body and its energies.
Now, I'm really curious. What's the significance of the gallbladder in this tradition?
Well, in this system, the gallbladder is linked to the north direction and to a deity who is symbolized by a turtle and a snake intertwined.
A turtle and a snake.
I thought those were usually associated with the kidneys in Taoist thought.
That's a great observation. And it's one of the intriguing mysteries of this chart.
Okay.
It highlights how different schools of Taoism had their own unique systems of symbolism.
Wow.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore this difference.
Okay.
And we'll unravel that fascinating connection between the gallbladder at the north and the turtle snake deity.
This is definitely a visual feast.
It is.
Layers upon layers of symbolism.
For sure.
Can't wait to dig into more of these details in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So we left off talking about how the chart for the cultivation of perfection includes the gallbladder.
Right.
Which isn't something you typically see in like traditional Chinese medical texts.
Right.
You mentioned it connects to the north direction and this turtle snake deity.
Can we unpack that a little more?
Absolutely. So in the yellow quartz tradition of Taoism,
Okay.
the gallbladder is specifically linked to north and to this deity that's represented by a turtle and snake intertwined.
Okay.
And it's a departure from the more common system.
Right.
Where the north is associated with the kidneys.
So what's the reasoning behind this different association with the gallbladder?
Well, that's one of the questions that scholars are still exploring.
Okay.
But it really highlights the diversity within Taoist thought. You know, each tradition developed its own unique system of correspondences.
So it's not like there's one right way to interpret these symbols.
Exactly. That's what makes studying these charts so fascinating.
Yeah.
They offer a glimpse into different layers of Taoist thought and practice.
This makes me think about the turtle and snake symbolism.
Yeah.
You said it's connected to the kidneys in some systems.
Right.
But here it's linked to the gallbladder.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Of course, it all comes back to that system of the 4 numinous animals.
Okay.
You know, the azure dragon of the east, the vermilion bird of the south, the white tiger of the west.
And the dark warrior of the north.
Yes.
Represented by the turtle and snake.
Exactly. But in this chart, the turtle and snake represent the gallbladder deity, not the kidneys.
Right.
And it's interesting because in the yellow quartz tradition, the kidneys are associated with a different deity altogether.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a deer with 2 heads.
A deer with 2 heads.
Yeah.
That's a new one. It's amazing how these charts use such like vivid imagery.
Yeah.
It really brings these concepts to life.
It certainly does, and it underscores the fact that we're dealing with a rich tapestry of symbolism.
Right.
Influenced by various strands of Taoist thought.
This idea of weaving together different strands makes me think about the concept of uniting opposites,
Yeah.
which I know is central to Taoism.
It is.
How does that play out in the chart for the cultivation of perfection?
Well, it's woven throughout the chart's imagery and symbolism.
Yeah.
One of the key examples is the concept of Hun and Po souls.
Those are often translated as the celestial and terrestrial souls, right?
That's right. The Hun is associated with the ethereal, the spiritual aspect,
Okay.
while the Po is connected to the earthly, the physical part of our being. Taoist alchemy emphasizes the importance of harmonizing these two souls for spiritual transformation.
So it's about finding that balance between the heavenly and the earthly aspects within us.
Exactly. And, if those souls are out of balance, it can manifest in various ways.
Okay.
For example, someone might feel ungrounded or scattered or overly attached to material things if their Po is dominant. Conversely, if the Hun is overemphasized, a person might feel disconnected from their body or lack practicality in their daily life.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how do Taoist practices help to restore that harmony between the Hun and the Po?
Well, there are various techniques,
Okay.
including specific meditations, visualizations, and even dietary recommendations that can help cultivate balance. But the key principle is to recognize and acknowledge both aspects of our being and work towards integrating them.
It's fascinating how these ancient concepts can still be so relevant to our lives today.
Right.
Are there other examples of this union of opposites on the chart?
Absolutely. Take the 3 chariots that are depicted on the spine.
Okay.
Each one is pulled by a different animal, and they symbolize different stages of energy flow.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right.
Tell me more about these chariots and their animal companions.
So at the base of the spine, we have a chariot that's pulled by sheep,
Okay.
representing a gentle, gradual flow of energy.
Mm-hmm.
As we move up to the kidneys, the chariot is pulled by deer, signifying a quicker, more agile energy. And finally, at the neck, the chariot is pulled by a buffalo, representing the strength and power needed to reach the head and achieve enlightenment.
It's like a visual representation of the journey of spiritual cultivation, requiring different qualities and efforts as we progress.
Exactly. And it ties back to the idea of overcoming obstacles. Right.
Which is also reflected in the image of the iron buffalo.
Right. The iron buffalo, talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Still curious about what it represents.
It's a fascinating image.
Yeah.
That appears in both the chart for the cultivation of perfection and the chart of the inner landscape.
Okay.
And it depicts the rising of energy from the kidneys,
Mm-hmm.
and it connects to ancient customs of appeasing river gods by throwing iron buffalo statues into the water.
So is the iron buffalo seen as a helper in channeling this powerful kidney energy upward?
Precisely. It's a potent symbol that links spiritual practices to these ancient rituals and beliefs.
I'm amazed at how every detail on this chart seems to have layers of meaning.
It does.
And connect to all these different aspects of Taoist thought.
It's a testament to the ingenuity of the creators of these charts.
Yeah.
They managed to condense a wealth of knowledge and symbolism into a single image.
That's incredible.
And speaking of potent symbols, we have the solar crow and the lunar toad.
Right.
Representing regeneration and enlightenment. Those are such striking images.
They are.
I can almost picture the crow soaring high with the sun's energy.
Yeah.
And the toad basking in the cool glow of the moon.
That's the power of visualization in Taoist practice.
Yeah.
By engaging our imagination, we can connect more deeply with these symbols and their energetic qualities. The solar crow and lunar toad also point to the concept of the elixir spoon.
The elixir spoon. That's a unique term.
Yeah.
What does it represent in this context?
It's a metaphor for a sweet secretion.
Okay.
A kind of inner nectar that appears when the adept's inner brightness increases. It's a sign that the alchemical process is working, that the body is being transformed from within.
So it's like a tangible manifestation of spiritual progress.
Exactly. It's not a literal spoon, of course,
right.
But it's a way of describing this subtle yet powerful experience that practitioners can cultivate through their practice.
So it's not just about understanding these symbols intellectually. It's about experiencing them directly through practice and inner transformation.
Precisely. And that's what makes the chart for the cultivation of perfection so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a static image, it's a dynamic guide for navigating the path of spiritual growth.
This is mind-blowing, and I know there's still so much more to explore.
There is.
We haven't even touched on the thunder rites or the mysterious curl,
Right.
which you mentioned earlier.
Those are both fascinating aspects of the chart,
Yeah.
and they connect to some of the most potent practices in Taoism.
Okay.
In the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll delve into the world of the thunder rites,
Okay.
the significance of the North Star, and the mystery of the mysterious pearl.
I'm hooked.
Mm.
I can't wait to uncover more of these secrets hidden within the chart for the cultivation of perfection.
Me too. It's going to be good.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dives into the chart for the cultivation of perfection. From the symbolism of the head and the spine to that really intriguing inclusion of the gallbladder.
Right.
We even explored those fascinating metaphors like the iron buffalo and the elixir spoon.
Right.
But you kind of left us hanging with the mention of the thunder rites.
Yeah.
What are those all about? Like, how do they fit into this chart?
Well, the thunder rites are a really captivating aspect of Taoist practice, and they're woven into this chart in kind of subtle but powerful ways.
Okay.
Think of thunder as like a wake-up call, this jolt of energy that kind of shakes us out of complacency and propels us towards spiritual awareness.
Okay. I can see how that ties into the theme of transformation that runs throughout this whole chart.
Right.
But how are these thunder rites specifically represented?
Well, there are specific inscriptions and symbols that relate directly to the thunder rites.
Okay.
Like, for example, the spiral in the kidneys, or the depiction of the 9 orifices of hells in a trapezium shape at the bottom of the body. These are thought to represent purging negative energies and opening pathways for spiritual growth, which are key elements in the thunder rites.
So there's like a cleansing aspect to these rites.
Yeah.
What kind of techniques are involved?
There are actually many different techniques associated with the thunder rites,
Okay.
often involving visualization, breathwork, and movement.
Okay.
They're designed to activate energy centers, cultivate inner strength, and ultimately connect with the primordial forces of the universe.
Okay.
And remember, the North Star we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
That plays a crucial role in these practices, too.
Right. You said it was associated with the primordial spirit.
Exactly. The North Star is seen as this unyielding source of guidance and illumination, representing the truest essence of our being.
Okay.
So during thunder rites, practitioners often visualize drawing the North Star's energy into their bodies,
Okay.
aligning themselves with this cosmic force.
So it's like using the North Star as a compass for navigating this inner landscape.
Yeah.
Like finding your way back to that primordial source.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of inner treasures,
Right.
we can't forget the mysterious pearl.
Yes, the mysterious pearl.
Another key element related to the thunder rites.
Yeah.
The name itself is so intriguing.
It is.
What does it symbolize?
It represents the culmination of the alchemical process, the perfect union of yin and yang within the body. It's often visualized as a tiny grain of millet that grows with practice, eventually becoming this radiant source of energy and wisdom.
So it's like a seed of potential that we cultivate through practice.
Yeah.
Allowing it to blossom and illuminate our entire being.
Exactly. And one of the central practices associated with the thunder rites is cultivating this mysterious pearl, allowing it to grow and shine its light within us.
So we have the thunder rites shaking things up, clearing out stagnation.
Right.
The North Star acting as this guiding light.
Yes.
And the mysterious pearl representing the ultimate goal. That state of perfect harmony and enlightenment.
Exactly.
It's all starting to come together.
It is.
But I'm curious about the connection between all of this and the larger cosmos.
Right.
You mentioned that the body is a microcosm of the universe.
Yeah.
But how does that idea actually play out on this chart?
That's a great question. The chart uses very specific symbols to highlight this connection between the human body and the cycles of the cosmos.
Okay.
For instance, you'll find references to the 28 constellations, the 30 moons, and even the 24 articulations of the year, all depicted along the spine.
So it's like our inner rhythms are synchronized with the rhythms of the universe.
Exactly. It reflects the Taoist understanding that we are not separate from the cosmos, but rather an integral part of this grand, interconnected web of energy and change.
That's beautiful.
Aligning ourselves with these natural rhythms is key to unlocking our true potential.
This has been such an incredible journey.
It has.
I feel like I've not only gained a deeper understanding of Taoist thought and practices, but also a whole new perspective on my own body and its connection to the universe.
That's the magic of these charts. They invite us to explore the hidden dimensions within ourselves. and awaken to our own potential for transformation.
Out of everything we've discussed, what stands out to you the most about the chart for the cultivation of perfection?
For me, it's the sheer ingenuity of combining anatomical knowledge, spiritual guidance, and cosmic symbolism, all into a single image.
It's amazing.
It really speaks to the depth and richness of Taoist thought,
Yeah,
and offers a unique lens for understanding the human experience.
for sure.
It leaves me wondering, how does this visual language offer you a different way of understanding your own body and its connection to the cosmos?
It's definitely made me realize that there's so much more to the body than just its physical form.
Right.
It's like this incredible microcosm of the universe pulsating with energy and potential.
Yeah.
I'm definitely inspired to learn more about Taoist practices and explore how I can cultivate my own inner alchemy.
And that's a perfect place to leave our deep dive. We encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating world of Taoist body maps and see what treasures you uncover.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a new and fascinating topic.